Carried. Public forum. First up, we have David Duffy, who's going to speak to proposed new Richmond cycle safety routes. Welcome, David. Just so you're aware, you have 5 minutes, and that'll include any questions as well.
Is there a magic toy here?
The mouse. The mouse.
Oh, right.
Oop.
Okay. Thanks for the opportunity to come and speak about our cycle safety route proposal. This has come about as we have ongoing concern about the safety of children and other road users in Richmond, and brought about by a careful watching of the current cycle lanes that are marked on the roads, which they're on very busy commuter roads, and there are a number of hazards presenting themselves which led us to look for a safer option. We also are aware of community, we've got community support through a number of questionnaires we've presented at local events, and we're also aware too of the worldwide trend towards improving city infrastructures which provide greater access for cyclists, scooter riders and pedestrians. The proposal, the rationale behind it is based on the changing transportation systems, the changing transport options. This route proposes to use quiet suburban streets which have no competing elements like large service trucks, buses, etc., large streams of commuter traffic and cars and that kind of thing. And we also want to align the program with the current North Richmond road repair program, so that when the streets which have not been repaired yet are designed for repair, they can take into account the inclusion of this road safety, this cycle safety element in them. The route itself, as you can see, starts over at the Palms or the Shirley Intermediate School corner and wends its way through along North Parade, where there is a current cycleway. It then turns into Averill Street, where it will serve the new Banks Avenue School, which they turned the sod in the new site about 2 weeks ago, and they're looking to be in residence in there around about mid-late 2022, possibly 2023. So there'll be an increased cycle flow for the younger generation through that area, down to Stapleton's Road, wends its way round through Dudley Street, Nichols Street, which are two streets due for a road repair program work in the new year, through onto the streets that have been repaired, including Perth and Alexandra, and emerges out by Fitzgerald Ave. The safety features considerations I've mentioned before: the commuter rush hour traffic, the narrow channels, the heavy traffic, the inherent traffic changes such as opening car doors, buses pulling in and out of traffic, etc. And we're suggesting that by rerouting those cycle options and the utilisation of appropriate signage and road markings, the danger factor will be significantly reduced. We've gone carefully over the proposed route to see what modifications might be necessary, and we've listed them there. Upgrading of the cycle path existing already in North Parade, 2 sets of traffic lights in North Parade to be retained. The entrance to the school, Banks Avenue School, may need to incorporate some design features to increase the safety of the school pupils. The design of Averill Street may involve narrowing of the current carriageway. The pedestrian safety crossing safety zone on North Avon Road at Nichols Street may need to be redesigned. That could be included in the Nichols Street repair program. And to give cyclists the safe passage across Fitzgerald Avenue at Alexandra Street, there may be need to install some kind of crossing facility. But then overall, we would like to see prominent signage installed, and this is in line to or alongside a proposal from our association that the speed limit in the quieter roads of Richmond be reduced to 40 kilometres an hour. In terms of a time frame, we'd like to see it worked in with the current road rebuild program, some of which has already been completed, and so we're probably looking at a 2 to 3 year fully completion of this scheme. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Paul?
Just it's brilliant. Just to clarify, if you put the map up, just that little bit, is that going down North Parade or is it going inside the school fence?
No, it's going down North Parade on the current. There's quite a wide footpath from the Martians Road corner through to the old entrance to Shirley Boys High.
Right.
And
okay.
that's off road.
So it's pretty wide all the way down?
It's wide enough to accommodate cyclists. It would be wider than twice this desk.
Yeah. But it might be a good idea to look at seeing if you could put it on the inside of the fence along the schools, because Shirley Intermediate doesn't go right up to the fence. They're not using that, but right.
No, but the trees do.
I don't think
okay.
we should design it in the committee.
Thank you.
This is actually,
Oh, really?
Thank you very much. It's great to have this type of deputation. And obviously, we're going to be going into the consultation for the long-term plan. So it'll be really important to submit. Also, within that, there's, I guess, another program of work happening within our cycling infrastructure, which will look at local connections as well. So we do have a resolution up there that I'll put in after all the public forums have been done, just to make sure that we sort of look at some of these local connections that are being mentioned and actually how we're going to move them going forward. But thank you for your time.
Okay.
There's another one coming up soon. So, have a second public forum from June Pecker. Welcome, June.
Thank you. Everything's on here. Kia ora tātou, kia ora tātou katoa. Ngā me te o te ngā mihi o te rā, ko June Pecker ahau. I've come to talk about housing. And I'm hopeful that my neighbours and I can convince our council that what we're asking for is important and attainable. Given that it appears medium density housing is inevitable to some degree in our older suburbs, I suggest we give up complaining and instead look at ways to make it more palatable than the two current examples at 138 and 47 Mersey Street. In respect of these two developments, it's obvious that what this developer is selling is acceptable to the Christchurch City Council and its independent commissioners, but we residents nearby are affected and we're mostly of the opposing view. So I request that our council work with us towards a less polarising and more aesthetically pleasing future. On a walk around St Albans and Maryvale recently, my partner and I studied and took photos of a number of medium density blocks. We imagined next door to our 100-year-old bungalow and we rated them. 1, pleasant; 2, easy on the eye; 3, acceptable; 4, unattractive; and 5, brutalist. I took notes and we further discussed and analysed at home, and we were surprised to find that there's not much between 1 and 5 that can't be put right with changes to architectural features and some attention to the colour spectrum and a genuine concern for the amenity of the neighbourhood. That would include vegetation, and we truly believe that it might be that easy. Wolfbrook designs in particular are almost all two-storied. They're predominantly glaringly white with black window surrounds and roofs, and sometimes dark stained, usually upright wood panels. This style originated in Tudor times in England. It's quite foreign to our established landscape. It's designed to stand tall and draw attention in much the same way a stark wedding cake, a big white thing in the middle of the table, dominates that table. There were only a few of these on our walk, and they certainly did that. They appeared incongruent in the extreme. Although our neighbourhood housing comprises mainly single-storey dwellings, and our ideal would be for new builds to follow suit, it became obvious that large in itself is not the main problem. We saw many very large houses, in fact, some of them from the 19th century even, for instance, Nurse Maud and the Fitzroy and the Salisbury Foundation. Even these we could deem easy on the eye because of their presentation. In fact, 70% fell within our first three categories because of their colour palette alone. Sympathetic creams and ivories with roofs and trims from the same spectrum of the colour wheel. These are in fact known as heritage colours, suitable for older neighbourhoods. When accompanied by mature trees and lower paling fences, as opposed to white concrete block walls and or those tall black slatted palisades, this increased the visual amenity significantly. We noted that horizontal weatherboard or linear board softens the impact of large too in an area of older and smaller. We also noticed the predominant use of light green and or pale grey aluminium window framing. That was eminently suited to our older leafy neighbourhood too. The question most asked here and overseas currently in relation to the worldwide housing crisis is, why do new builds have to look so ugly? Well, they don't in our opinion. Our local knowledge is that these developers have paid around $500,000 each for the sections, and they will sell the 11 units for more than $600,000 each. That's what they're advertised for. So we find it hard to believe they would go to the wall if they were authoritatively required to clad in or significantly use horizontal weatherboard or linear or brick panelling on the street-facing aspects in our older suburbs. And if they were required to paint in colours sympathetic to the age and colouring of the existing housing in the area. And if they were required to add features such as profiled windows, trimmed in almost anything but black. If they were required to design their developments around existing mature trees to immediately mitigate or ameliorate the impact on neighbours.
Do you have much left to read?
Nearly finished. And finally, we would ask that the council requires developers to maintain the properties they buy between purchase date and demolition of starter building. This could be as simple as mowing lawns and collecting mail. The house next to us, previously always well maintained, has attracted much attention in the past 6 months because of its unkempt appearance. It's been entered illegally more than once, left insecure, a secure hazard exposed. Its owners haven't responded to polite requests to deal with this. A similar property on Innes Road has been flooded, vandalised, and had 2 stolen cars.
I'm going to have to stop you there because you're well over the 5 minutes.
Okay.
But thank you for your time, and we appreciate you coming to speak on behalf of a number of St Albans residents who are concerned with this type of infill. Obviously, that is shared by a lot of people also around this council table. And I guess it's potentially not going to get any better with the National Policy Statement on Urban Development, which will encourage this type of activity. And a lot of the communities that do have character areas aren't protected unless they're actually identified already within the district plan. So it's not going to be an easy way to try and preserve some of that character as we move forward. But we have done things in the past. In November last year, we had a report to look at the quality of our medium and high density dwellings, and also I guess when the developers go through the resource consent process, staff do work with them to try and suggest ways that they can actually keep to the character of communities, but ultimately it is with the developers for that end product. But we are very aware of your concerns, and we're trying to do our best to see how we can, I guess, mitigate some of the impacts of these developments into these communities. But thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anything else?
Also, I'd just like to note that Francine Bills was wanting to do a public forum, but she'd already presented to the community board. But I'll circulate after the meeting the letter that she'd put forward, just so other councillors are aware of what she wanted to say. Our last public forum, I'm not too sure if he's here, is from Chris Baxter. No, he's not. He's not here to present it. There is a PowerPoint on the hub if you want to have a look at it. So I've just got a resolution up there. Can we just put in some correct wording in there? Presentation provided from David Duffy. On the proposed new Richmond cycle safety routes. Yep. Thank you. To this committee.
Back to this committee.
Well, we can provide information, but I think we obviously had a very similar public forum that was going to be presented on another community, and I think this raises the fact that actually we have quite a bit of funding in the proposed long-term plan for, I guess, local connections, and I think it's really important we actually look at what that presents for the city. So maybe we need to actually tie that into some wider information to present back to the committee on, I guess, the second stage of the cycleway program that will actually allow cycleway connections to be connected and also for any gaps in the networks to be filled up.
Do you want that noted or included as part of the investigation?
No. Yeah.
Investigation.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have any ideas?
Okay.
You happy with that? Yeah.
Refers the issues about the presentation doesn't make sense. No.
Refer the issues
Or
raised by David Duffy.
Oh, it's not.
In the presentation, isn't it? In the presentation to the Richmond Cycle Safety Route.
Presentation about.
About. Yeah, about.
And just put for consideration by staff.
Yeah.
And respond.
And respond.
Of the consideration of the consideration by staff as part of the what do you call it?
Wider or second stage.
Yeah, I guess the
Connecting the major cycle.
yeah, part of work that will connect major cycleway communities,
As part of work that will connect
local communities
local communities.
to major cycleways.
That will connect local communities to major cycleways. Full stop. Delete the rest.
Just had a question.
Sorry, what's the question?
So just wondering when we can share the Avon Takaro MCR kind of route consideration?
So
'Cause
that's
this has
probably
got a
best,
lot
that's
of-
probably best saved to the transport report, which is coming up very shortly.
But well, I mean, for those of us who have seen it, it seems like we're just talking about the same space.
Yeah,
area.
I just
Okay.
answered you. And
Yeah, just further to that note, and maybe how communities raise a need for, their concern, or how do we go through the process of actually a community bringing the attention of the committee to the fact that they need a connecting part to a cycleway? How does the process work?
yeah. Look, we'll take that offline. Take it offline.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's, do you think
this
that's
is just
included
because it's
in
been
that?
raised, so we'll take that offline.
Give it consideration.
Yeah. Aaron,
Okay.
did you want to say something before we?
Well, it's just around the same thing that I think a particular community has done an incredible amount of work to bring what they believe is a fact-based presentation to the council. That if we were an enabling council, we would go, why can we not do that? And we should, on every single cycleway we do, we should be weighing up. In some areas, do we get a better bang for buck by putting this in because you'll get this many people on bikes versus another area where you might not get many. But we need to, when this comes back, it should be why can't it be done, not it goes into an eventual long-term plan
Totally agree
after
with
all
you.
the cycleways are finished.
I totally agree, and it's actually a very good presentation, and it's why we need to make sure we actually put a resolution in place to ensure it does not get lost. But anyhow, I'm happy to move that. Do I have a?
Yeah. Yeah, tell us if it can be done, and if not, why not?
Okay.
Can I just suggest that you
Sorry,
note?
actually, stop. Hang on, stop. I'm just going to move this, and we're going to get a second that Jake, and I'll take it offline, and we'll get something to actually cover all the secondary
workshop,
routes and
yeah.
connect gaps at a later date. Okay. Jake's re-second. All those in favour? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, carried. And we did the whole lot. That covered the whole lot of the public forums. Excellent, thank you. Right, we're going to move to item